we were asked by one of the pilgrims about structures and sculptures they have seen at a monastery. We did not have a clear answer, but we were happy to comment on simplicity and complexity in Buddhist monasteries in general.
Ajahn Chah's monastery, everything's simple. Yes. It's just the whole monastery is set up for mainly just living simply, and also living in harmony, and also practicing together in silence, and also in peace. So sometimes other monastery, sometimes the abbots, they have their own ideas, but just in Bodhidhaja and Dhammasara, everything is kept really as simple as possible. Yeah.
One other thing I recognized is like the nagas that were kind of flowing around on the outside. But also to me it was just so much in one place. And that's why this concept of kind of Disneyland came up, because that's, you go to a theme park and it has like all these things in different places. Yes. But I like what Bhantes Cunda said, and that is really the kind of Ajahn Chah way of doing things. But I remember we were in the museum as well, and you were commenting and saying, when we came here the first time, it was like just full of things here and there and everywhere, and now it's much more simple. And it's so hard to simplify things. But if you have come to a Bodhinyana monastery, to the hall that we have, when you come into the hall when nothing is happening, it's empty. Yes. The shrine has a few things on it. Ajahn Brahm always says, let's like a few knickknacks, and then people bring something. They brought a lotus flower, which is beautiful, and people had some connection to it for sure, but I think out of respect they will leave it for a couple of months, and then somehow they'll make it disappear, kind of as respectfully as possible. But even the seats and all the things are gone. They go into the back room. So you don't really bring things out to entertain the mind or to have the mind to think about many, many things. The Thai tradition is really simple. And when you come into a room which is empty, then your mind doesn't have what has happened to us. It doesn't have all these questions. What does this mean? Why is it like this? Why does this connect to that and to something else? And it helps the mind to just let go of all these things in the world. But like one of the things that Ajahn Brahm also says in the hall is someone put up the picture of Ajahn Chah. He never asked for it, but he's like, I can't take that down. This is my teacher. But if I could, I would, for the simplicity of that room. And that's actually quite nice to see also with the dana salas that we go into. Yes, the edges and what's happening around is kind of getting a bit clogged, but the actual room inside is always cleared and cleaned. So like as Ajahn Ganha's place as well, 3 times a day it gets cleaned, and that's when you take everything away and you sweep everything away, all the dust, all the clutter that has accumulated, and then you bring it back, but just temporarily. So this idea of not having things stick, or not building nests, or not bringing this kind of permanence into it that we want to have as human beings. That's just a reflection from what came up. Yeah,
I think with a monastery, sometimes it can be too much of if you have more attraction, more buildings, sometimes you bring in more supporters. Sometimes when there's too much building and structure, it becomes a bit of a Disneyland set up, and it tends to spoil the place. Because when I was in Melbourne, we went to a monastery where they have a massive stupa, and it's like almost like a tourist attraction. And they have a retreat center, and I asked how many monastic there, and they say there's only 3. I go, wow, the Venerable must be working very hard. Then we went to another place in the city, and really big, I think it's a Mahayana place. The first place was a Tibetan place. The second place is a Maya place. Really big place, big, massive Buddha statue, 3 of them. A lot of different statue outside here. And I asked how many monastic there are, and they say there's only 3. Yeah. And the one that we went to, the Tibetan place, they came and visit Newberry Monastery, and they asked us, how do you keep monastic from leaving or disrobing? And the answer was quite simple. You make the monastery a place to practice and not too much work. When you can do that, to make a place of practice, of learning, of the Vinaya, the Sutta, and the practice, and living peacefully and simply, then you have more monastic. That's why Bodhayana and Dhammasara is always full, because it's a place of practice. When you make a place of too much work and too much structure, then you end up monastic will leave those places or disrobe, and or if they don't disrobe, they look for quiet places to practice. Yep. So that's the most important thing. When you make a place for practice, then people will stay, and people will practice and they will do well. Okay.
I hope that kind of answers your question. We don't know what it represents, but yes, it's nice that the spirit of the Ajahn Chah monasteries is that we do things out of necessities when it's really required, and that we do things that are easy to maintain. The more things you have, the more you have to do cleaning and maintaining and all these kind of things, yeah. But I think we all fall into it. Even if you're a monastic and you live in a hut, you have maybe a box under your bed or whatever it is, and you start accumulating, I don't know, plastic bags because you think, oh, okay, I don't want to throw them in the bin, and they will become useful one day, and then you look in your box and you're like, who needs 20 plastic bags? So these things start to accumulate when we're not careful, yes. Okay. Is there any other questions that any people have at this stage? Because otherwise probably we would do a bit of meditation to finish off.